It's nice to finally formally meet you.
Thank you, thank you.
I graduated high school May 26th of 2000.
I used to do a lot of film photography. I don't do much anymore.
Okay.
I'm the Hines County District Attorney, which makes me the top.
Hi guys, it's Faith Simone here.
I'm Amanda Wells.
Hi, it's Jody Owens.
Hello everybody, this is your girl Hillary Christian.
Hi, I'm Tom Beck.
Enjoying my evening with the Dirty Napkins crew. Make sure.
Let's go get some napkins dirty.
How does a young kid?
I think it's so critical.
Literally, you can say bad things about me, it can be false.
I had a number in my head.
What's one of your more proud moments? What would you say?
So every day is different. We're learning something new every single day.
She said, well, tried it.
There's always something burning inside you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dirty Napkins. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Dirty Napkins. Until next time, it's your host, Taylor. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dirty Napkins. Today, we're one of our local favorites, mind, body, and soul food. I'll be having a conversation with Sabrina Howard, a local artist here in Jackson, Mississippi. Tune in. Let's go get some napkins dirty. You know, for the people who may not know who you are, obviously I'm talking with you, plan to have a conversation with you today. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll go obviously a little deeper, but just to start off for starters.
Oh, no problem. I was born and raised here in Jackson, Mississippi, and I've always known that I was an artist from a very early age. You know, my parents have always talked about the things I would create as a preschooler and all the way up until high school. Well, I remember most of those in high school, but specifically when I was before school, the things that I would do, my mom kept and often talked about it. Okay. They've always supported me as far as my art career goes. Okay. I attended Callaway High School here. That's where we'll start the education.
All right, I'm with you. I graduated from Callaway.
Yeah, see, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we go to Callaway, I do want to go back a little bit, right?
Okay.
So you say you started painting, or not necessarily painting, but you started with art way back, like you said, when you were really young, like.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Let's see. I'll start at some things I was doing when I was around 6 or 7. I was making things out of old coats, like teddy bears, and I didn't find out till later that my mom was taking them to work with her and showing her friends. My mom's a school teacher. And when I got into grade school, my perception for art was a lot different than the other children. Real funny story. We had to create a piece of artwork based on what was outside the window at school. Wow. And I did my creations, the other kids did their creation. Fast forward next day, I come in, you know how they hang your work on the bulletin board after after you have your little art time. Well, my little sheet of manila paper wasn't hanging up on the wall. And I was like, wow, well, why isn't mine up? And my teacher told me, she said, well, Sabrina, you forgot to put the sun. And you forgot to put the sun in your picture. And then at that point, I told her, I said, look outside. And she looks over her shoulder, and then I tell her, I said, see, just because you don't see the sun doesn't mean it's not there, And so she went and told my mom what I said. I wasn't being disrespectful. I was just, that was my view. My view, there was no circle out there with triangles around it. I drew what I saw, so my perception was different. And
had that childlike innocence a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. I spoke up then. I was pretty quiet as a student in grade school, and but I spoke up that day when I didn't see my artwork on the wall. I was like, "Where is mine?"
Yeah.
So, so I participated in many competitions during school, attended other extra curricular type art activities like APEC.
Were you in APAC for a little while?
Yes, I was
Okay.
there. Yes,
Cool.
yes.
So let me ask you this then: At what point did you start to see that? Hey, I really enjoy creating. I really enjoy. Because where did you start? Did you start with painting, or did you start off like drawing, or like how did it all start?
Well, creating is a very interesting process.
Okay.
You kind of do all things until you find something you're comfortable with. I mean, I did pencil and pastel. I did a lot of pastel during my younger years, and that was pretty much like paint because you could wet it. And I used to do wet pastels, which was something like a watercolor. So I experimented in a lot of things, but it wasn't until I attended college is when I really started to focus in on more of the wet media like paint and watercolor. So that's when I started creating paintings, as you would call it, but they were always affiliated with the projects from school. I'm gonna say while I was in Atlanta attending the Atlanta College of Art, I also had the opportunity to create some murals then, and I worked with at-risk youth, and one was like in this 70s club. And I was really getting into that, you know, as far as painting, muraling, public art, and things like that.
Gotcha. And it's funny you bring up your college. I was going to ask you about that, the time you went to the Atlanta, and what was the college again?
Atlanta College of Art.
Atlanta College of Art. So when you went to Atlanta College of Arts and they kind of, I guess, started helping you perfect your craft in terms of like painting and stuff like that, at that point, did you know like, hey, I want to do this. I want to make this a career at some point?
Wow. I realized that when I was in junior high.
Okay.
I decided that I was going to be an artist, and I was going to make, that's how I was going to make a living. That's where I was going to work. I didn't have at that point, I wasn't exactly sure what job or role I would play as far as a professional art career, but I knew that's something I wanted to do with my life. There was actually an article printed in the Clarion Ledger. I think it was like my 10th grade year in high school, and I was interviewed. And one of the things I said was that I feel that a person should find a job that they love or make sure it's something that they enjoy doing. And that way they would never ever have to work again because you feel like you're not working, right?
And you said that in the 10th grade.
I said that in the 10th. I still had an article.
Are you still as passionate about art today as you were then?
Oh, more.
More?
More so, yes.
What do you think has helped over the years? What do you think has helped contribute to that? Like, is it just the more you learn, the more you do it, the more passionate you seem to be about it?
Well, two things. I also paint live, meaning I sit in front of a live audience or a live camera, and I create a piece.
Really?
on set, like just right there at that spot. I tend to paint between 1 and 2 hours, depending on what I'm painting. Now, I started the live painting back in Georgia. I did a couple of things there. It wasn't as much as I've done here, live painting that I've done here. I started painting regularly with this event here that was held bi-monthly called Synergy Nights. Okay. They used to actually meet not far from here at the Med Grill across the street over here. But anyway, I would go there, twice a month and do these live pieces, and then all of a sudden, there was this new style that evolved in my pieces because I was actually in a controlled time environment. I knew that I had to get in quickly, make a concept, paint it, and it needed to be complete by the end of the night or the end of the event. Even with that, I also offer live painting services where I've painted at 3 funerals and 2 weddings, some birthday parties. Funerals, yes.
What are the, I was trying to hold off on asking you this question. What are the challenges of live painting? It seems that seems rather difficult. right? You giving yourself this tight window to paint, like, cause what exactly are you painting in those windows?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Some people have an idea of what they want, and then others just want you to vibe out with the music or whatever's going on. Okay. Some people ask that you paint the scene, like paint what's going on. Like if we're sitting here and I'm here to live paint, I would probably do like, oh, there's some people over there with a setup. There are cameras, there's tripods, a guy in a yellow chair. I would do a little sketch scene of that.
I thought you were about to call me yellow.
I didn't say that. But that would be one of the colors I would add if I had to do a portrait of you.
Oh, yellow?
About it,
yeah. I'm joking with you. I was like, I know she's not about to call me yellow.
Yes, it would be like the, let me see, which yellow would it be? There's this light yellow I like to use. Anyway, so with the live painting, you asked me about what are some of the challenges surrounding it. The challenges actually add to the energy of the pieces. Like if you, two of these pieces were live pieces. Okay. I'm just gonna go back here. We'll talk about them later, but two of these pieces are live pieces. As you can see in the background looks a lot abstract and rough. There's a lot of motion there.
This one for sure, the middle one.
Yeah, they both were live pieces created within a 2-hour window. And those pieces started with a blank background. And I created this technique that allows me to move a lot faster than I ordinarily would if I was sitting in the studio creating a piece. What I do is I start off pretty wet with my colors. Every color I'm gonna use, I go ahead and drip it onto the canvas. I try not to dip back into my palette. I just use the paint that's already there to create the pieces, and therefore it makes me move faster.
This is so interesting.
But what happens, and look, I promise you, it's not, it wasn't intentional at first, but then I created a comfort zone for creating live pieces. And it gives you pretty much the look that you see here. To close out my live paintings, I start to go ahead and give anything that could distort the form a form. Like there could just be, you would think that was a tree there, or just a tree stump or a cylinder, and then I go in and throw in highlights and shadows, and there's a hand there. Yeah. So, I do that last, so that.
So you kind of just, is it safe to say, in a lot of ways, you kind of just let the brush take? And I get, okay, so I got a bunch. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. This is just very interesting to me. I've never really gotten a rundown on painting, right? Because
you're gonna have to try it.
I should. I really do. You're gonna have to. Do you do like classes or anything like that, or like sessions or anything? Not really.
I've been asked, and that's something that I and some other people have discussed. Okay. Over the last year or so, creating a studio group that will come in and create.
I think that would.
But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't want to hold you to that.
So the challenges is going in and having a final piece by the end of your event. Even if I don't feel it's final, the audience need to be able to recognize what you did. Yeah. So I did that often. In fact, I have a whole art show that's full of live artwork, and I give you a tip. One way for you to identify my live pieces is you look for the drips. Like paint is wet and it's dripping down, look for that. And you can almost immediately tell if it was a live piece or not.
See, like on this one, the red that's dripping down from this flag here.
Yeah, and then that one started, I used a lot of the paint from the back.
I got you.
And this one was a live piece as well, painted over the drips.
I got you.
And that one was a studio piece. That's a funny story.
Okay. Well, what keeps you, at this point, and we'll talk about some of your accomplishments and some of the things you've done, because you've painted all kinds of things. But at this point, how do you keep yourself excited about it day in and day out? So I'll come back in with that. So, like I said, you've painted all kinds of stuff. How do you keep yourself excited? And I guess a two-part question. I know you what do you want to know, right? But how do you paint these massive murals too? Like how does that work?
Two-part question. What keeps me motivated and going and excited? I'm always excited to create. It doesn't have to be paint. It could be, I could be assembly, did I say that? I'm gonna cut that out. I could be putting together cardboard and creating some type of sculptural thing. I could be sitting down and making clay figures with my kids. You know, the creation is coming out at all times. But right now, I wouldn't use the word motivation.
Okay.
I am inspired by the events happening in the country and in our city right now. Not just the good things, but also the bad things, unfortunately. But you know, hey, need and situations is like the precursor to inventions and resolution. So right now, I create pieces surrounding resolution of what's going on today, what's happening as far as like what's going on with our flag, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about that then, because it seems like, and again, I'm not trying to make you get real passionate about anything in that regard, but by you saying, you know, you think about what's happening and what all's going on, what are your thoughts about kind of the current take on where things stand?
Well, if I had to relate what's happening now to last year, I would make last year would be like a cause, and this year would be an effect.
Okay.
And it's a lot more going on than that. But sometimes bad things have to happen before things are repaired or resolved. Yeah. And I just feel that the events of, you know, recent have united us more as a people and as a race, and that people have finally had an opportunity to see how the average young black male lives, or what they have to go through, or women too. You know, we've all been. I know I've been profiled. I don't know if you've ever been profiled before. Yeah, I have 2 stories, and it's surprising to hear that some of our co-workers and people we encounter every day are surprised to hear that you existed through a situation like that. I'm like, oh yeah, you know.
Sharing one of the stories if you don't mind, or if you don't want to. You
like a profiling situation? Okay, sure. When I was in Georgia, my husband, well, we were engaged at that point. He's deceased now. No.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, my then husband was, he wanted to walk to the store and get some cigarettes. And we lived in a townhome in one of the nicer areas in Atlanta, Buckhead actually.
Okay, I'm familiar.
So I was in an apartment there. You know, it wasn't as, I don't know, it's different now. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
It's glamorous then.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he wanted to walk to the store and get cigarettes. I don't smoke. He smoked. And I was like, it was a nice day. So we left our place and we walked up to the store that's in Buckhead. We were like, you know, it's probably about a quarter of a mile away. And as we're walking, all these cops come and basically say, hands up. And so it's like 5 cop cars at first, and then 2 more pull up. And I'm standing there like, what's going on? So, and my husband told me, he said, don't move, don't say nothing. That's what he told me. And of course, you know, I hadn't experienced that before, so I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? And he said, be still, don't talk. It's because he had experienced things before. So I got to talk that, you know, as a mother, of what I tell my children of how to handle encounters with the police. So they immediately separated us. It asked us questions, and we were searched. I was supposed to be searched by a woman, but a man searched me.
Oh, wow.
And I was steadily asking what happened. They wouldn't tell us what happened. They put him in the police car and left.
Super illegal.
And when they figured out we weren't, you know, nothing was wrong. Like the guy was like, he said, do you have a driver's license? I was like, well, I have an ID. Well, and then he came back, he was like, you told me you didn't have a driver's license. I said, oh, well, I have a Mississippi driver's license, but I have a Georgia ID. Like that. So it was like he was trying to catch me up in a lie. So then they started asking us where was the money.
Like now, just assuming you guys had stole something or robbed somebody or something like that?
We had change. He had enough to buy his cigarettes. And that's it. Well, they took him away and they all pulled off and left me standing there.
That's sad.
And it started to rain. So I was
like, how long
like,
ago was that?
Oh, wow. About 20 years.
And not much has changed from then to now. Not much has changed from then.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I later found out what happened. Another young cop came back and picked me up. When I asked them, I said, you guys said that someone just robbed somebody. You're just gonna leave me here? You know, can I get a ride home? Because I was walking with my husband, and they were like, this ain't no taxi service. That's what I was told.
That's what the police told
But
me.
one of the young cops
Protect and
circled back
serve.
around and picked me up and told me what I needed to do to help my husband out. And that's what I did. And they only took him in from some trouble he got into when he was a teenager that was supposed to be clear, but the system wasn't updated.
Yeah, I got you. I like never is, right? It's
Yes,
always
and I
something.
actually have a piece called System Repair. That's not here.
A painting?
Yeah.
So it's safe.
It's on my page. You can go check that one out.
That's good. So it's safe to say, like, you draw a lot of influence, and I think the word you used was inspiration from some of these situations, real life situations and stuff like that. Well, that's a good story. What have you been in your career so far? What is something you've been the most proud of? What was one of your proud moments of, man, I'm excited I got that done? You talked to me a little bit about some galleries you've been in and just some other things, but for you, when I ask you what's one of your more proud moments, what would you say?
The moment I decided to give time to my craft.
Okay.
That moment. As a mom, you know, having children and other responsibilities, we put a lot of things to the side. You know, we're there. We have to make sure we care for our family. You know, make sure everybody's fine, and we carry the family. You know, but often we neglect those things that we're passionate about, or those callings and desire that burns in our soul. Yeah. And as for me, that's always there. Even with my other jobs they were creative jobs, you know, a graphic artist and things like that. Recently, I was training to be a digital fabrication tech, lab tech, which is 3D printing.
I was just gonna say, what is that? Okay, thank you.
But today, right now, I am a full-time creative. Everything I do now is surrounding my artwork, shows, commissions, murals, things like that. That's what I'm involved in.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
I wanna backtrack a little bit. You said something I think we need to shine a little more light on. Going back to just what you mentioned around women, right? And I think this is just my personal opinion as a journalist. I think women don't get enough credit in terms of what you all sacrifice, and Black women in particular, right? In a lot of ways, again, just my opinion, in a lot of ways, I feel like you all act against your best interest sometimes, to put your family first, to put your spouse first if you're married, or whoever first. But my question I want to direct to you is, throughout this process of knowing you've been a creative your entire life, mentally, how draining was that in the mental process of trying to be a mother, a creative, and a wife? How tough was that?
Well, I actually took that in stride. Now, I was only a wife for a couple of years. But since that, you know, when you have those children dependent on you, you don't even think about it. You know, it just kind of happens. And there has to be something that pushes you back to what you love and who you are. Now, I feel like everyone's a creative, and I've had this conversation with creatives as well. When you're a creative, there's always something burning inside you to make you create or to do something, okay? It's always there. I run into people that say, oh, I used to draw, I used to paint. Well, it's always there. If you pull that out again, you're still gonna do it. It's just like riding a bike. Oh man, I haven't rode a bike in 3 years. Yeah. But you can still get on that bike and ride it. Or, hey, man, when was the last time I went swimming? But if you jump in the water, you're gonna swim, right? Yeah. Same thing with creating. It comes just like that. It's just something that's in us. It's our perception of the world. You know, we start to, you know, we create through, you know, our eyes and hands, and to give, you know, our audience ideas and hopefully something pleasing to look at.
And I asked that question because I guess for me personally, when I first kind of committed to writing, right? Like I do journalism in form of interviews, but if you ask me what I'm most passionate about, or if you ask me what I enjoy most, is writing, right? That's my thing. But the reason I asked you that question is because for me, I found it to be super difficult in the early stages to focus on my quote unquote dream and provide and be, I guess, mentally available and emotionally available for someone else. It was extremely difficult for me. So that's why I asked you a question about how was that for you mentally with, you know, having kids, because I don't have any. I can imagine how that can make it a lot more difficult. So
Well, I tell you what, there was a show I had a couple of years ago, and it was actually my first solo show. I had a group of art collectors come and visit. They had an opportunity to see the show before the public saw it, and I was having a conversation with one of the attendees, and you know, they were commenting about the size of my body of work, and you know,
not big enough.
You know, just I had a large body of work at that particular show.
Okay, I got you.
And when they heard me talk about, you know, I wait till the kids are in bed, and I get up and I work overnight and I do this and I do that. So one lady stopped. She was like, "Wait a minute, you have kids and a job?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, how do you? And their question then became, "Well, where do you find time to create?" So what I said to this lady was, the correct question is to ask me, when do I sleep?
And when do you sleep?
Well, right now I'm averaging about 3 hours, which is not healthy.
Yikes.
And let's jump on that. Now, we have health disparities that our communities are saturated with. And, you know, there's, you know, large numbers of people that are impacted by hypertension and heart disease, right? Well, if you think about it, and I had to stop the other day. We've been stressed a long time. So how is it hereditary, or is it just life and the way we've existed? Now, not getting a lot of sleep is unhealthy. Okay, you have to get a certain amount of sleep so your body can rest. Now you talk about trying to juggle certain things. That stuff wears on your body, your mental capacity, you know, and your physical health. So all that to say, when you're passionate enough about something, you're going to make the time to do it regardless. You know, you hear people say, you know, folks make time for things that's important to them.
Yeah, I agree.
And me creating is important to me. But I'm a mom first.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I think you do make time for what's important to you. Like all of my close friends, all of my family, they know when I call it my writing block, right? Mm-hmm. They know when I'm like in my writing block, my phone is on do not disturb, and nobody can get through to me.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you know, if you're not there with me, you just have to wait till I get done. So I totally understand that. But let me ask you this. What are some of your biggest, when you think about your career and you think about what you want in the future, and I guess, you know, maybe some of the things that have happened to you in the past, what are some of your biggest fears? Like what scares you in terms of, will I, you know, maybe if I don't do this, that would, you know, make me nervous or something. Is there anything that makes Sabrina, like, gives you pause or makes you nervous?
Well. This will be a two-part answer. Regarding creativity, I used to have some concerns that I wouldn't be able to create the way I wanted, but most of my concerns now fall on making sure that I am the mom or the aunt or the niece that someone needs in their life, or make sure my kids are taken care of, make sure they're, you know, my fear is that I give them the time they need to be, you know, the adults that they're supposed to be, that they, you know, grow to their full potential, you know, because things do get busy for me. And I have to make sure, you know, I have to stop and have those conversations with my younger children, and make time for my older children and have those conversations. You know, you still have to be mom. So that's the first place my mind goes regarding any fears. But I've gotten over one, which is making the decision to create full time. Now that was difficult.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, growing
Tell
up,
me.
everybody,
I got a lot of
look,
time you need.
growing up, everyone would always say that you couldn't make a living being an artist. And that's all we heard. So, you know, they'll say things like, get a real job. You know, a real job, meaning go get a labor job where you're paid a standard amount of money and you have to work so many hours, and you know, you're not building your legacy, you're building someone else's legacy. And they tell you when you work and when you can't work, and when you take a break and when you can't break. You got to work all these hours and this is the time you have left. You know, it's all like, we're like little robots, right? Yeah. So, you know, that was burned into my mind, like I have to have a job, and, you know, a real job in order to take care of my family. But no, that's not the case. You know, if you have something you've driven about and go ahead and put the time in it and behind it, it's gonna work out regardless. Yeah. And you start to invest in yourself. You know, the same way we invest in our jobs. You know, we need to put that same amount of time into us. So I was able to get over that fear.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It was like a horror movie scene. I was like, oh boy, yeah.
So I know you mentioned that was something you recently did, and I think I told you once, but I'll tell you again, congratulations. I mean, that's a thing a lot of people dream to do, right? So you've done that, so you made the next step. So I guess my next follow-up question is just naturally, what's some of your long-term goals in terms, or one of your long-term dreams? Now that you're a full-time artist or a full-time creative, as you like to say, what is that first big project you're really ready to give your all to, or what is that next thing you're really excited about doing?
Oh, well, I am most excited about the public art ventures that I'm involved in now. One of my favorite situations is being somewhere and someone just experienced something I created. And that's, I get a lot of satisfaction and joy out of that. My project manager doesn't like to hear me say this, but I'll tell you, I give away more than I sell. And if you love something enough, I'll say, here, you just have it. You know, because ultimately that's what I want. I want people to enjoy the things that I'm creating.
I do want to talk about what you just alluded to, like imposter syndrome and people having to exist through that. I think that's something we don't talk about enough. Personally, I never knew what imposter syndrome was, probably until I say about a year or so ago. I have a friend that was dealing with it real hard. Like, what's your experience with it, or what are your thoughts around it?
Look, I didn't exactly learn. I've heard the term, right? But, you know, I'm thinking, whatever that is, that's not me, you know. But I found that was me. I am the definition, was working on it, the definition of imposter syndrome. I would, when I would get like a call for an interview or someone would congratulate me about something, I'd be like, oh, it's nothing really. You know, no, that's not right. That's something. Yeah. I mean, accomplishments, as small as they are, is still something. We should celebrate those small accomplishments. Yeah. You know, to prepare us for the even larger ones, because there was once a time in our life where we didn't have that happening. Yep. You know, and it goes across the entirety of your life. And part of imposter syndrome is accepting yourself as you are. So, you know, we talked about, you know, when I first got here, I was talking about, oh my goodness, makeup. Yeah. That's because, you know, what we see, you know, we should always present our best selves, right? Yeah. We should, but at the same time, we should be comfortable. Yeah. So with that, you know, we have to just embrace whatever's happening at the time and be present at that time. So
I agree, and I'll jump in here. Like, when you talk about being present, that's something like that is extremely important. I think for any good interviewer, one of the telltale signs is how present they are in the interview. But I agree, and I feel exactly what you're saying about just accepting yourself, because one of the issues I had when I decided to do this show was, I'm not this dressed up guy. I don't, you know, if I could wear sweatpants every day and like my Birkenstocks and a t-shirt, I'd do that. Like,
You have Birkenstocks?
oh yeah, wear them religiously. As soon as the interview is over, I'm putting them on, you know?
Wow.
So like, yeah, that's, if I could do that, I'd do it every day. But I understand that, like, you know, the executive producer, they're like, hey man, if you really want to, make this thing better, we should look at doing some other things. So I get that. I totally understand your frustration or your feelings around, accepting yourself and just kind of presenting yourself as you are. So I just want to commend you again for, like, taking all these big steps and jumping out there. I want to kind of steer the conversation to Jackson a little bit. We haven't talked much about Jackson and much about Mississippi, and I do want to touch on that, right? So you went to school, so you obviously went to high school here, you went to Callaway. And did you go to the art school in Atlanta directly after high school? Or
Yes,
okay.
I did.
So how much time did you spend in Atlanta, and what brought you back to Jackson from Atlanta? Or what brought you back to Mississippi from Atlanta?
Look,
Most people would say, oh, why'd you leave Atlanta?
Oh no, there's nothing wrong with Atlanta, nothing wrong at all. But like I said, family comes first. I was in Atlanta 12 years. And
wow.
I came back here to assist in the caring for my family.
Okay.
I started off caring for my mom, who had early onset Alzheimer's, and she was my dad's caregiver. He had over 10 strokes. Okay, so I came back to help, and as children, we know that day comes when you have to care for your parents. So that's what I came back and ended up staying and getting a job. And I'm glad that I decided to stay, because there were times where I was like, I'm ready to go back to Georgia, And but one thing that I've realized, you have to make home wherever you are. Wherever you end up, you have to figure out how to make it home, or you won't, feel rest. And as for me, I wouldn't be able to create if I wasn't at least creating a space where I felt like I was at home. So that's what brought me back.
Sure.
And am I looking to leave now? I thought about it last year.
Or did you?
But a lot of things have come, a lot of things have been revealed, and when reality sets in, it's not just about what I want, it's what's important for my family too. Now, I can go anywhere in this world and create.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no limits there. So thankfully, with what I do, I can still be in a space here and time and still create the same as I would in another city.
Do you have any frustrations? I know it's a very direct question, but do you have any frustrations with Jackson? Like, and to keep it lighthearted in a lot of ways, do you have any frustrations with Jackson? And then what are some of your, I guess, praises of Jackson? Like, Jackson is really good at this, or talk to me a little bit about the creative scene, your opinion on the creative scene in Jackson.
When I first moved back, the creative scene was the circles were very small.
Okay.
I remember trying to mix in with the creative crowd, and it was a little different. Folks wasn't used to seeing me around, and it was more like, hey, so where'd you come from?
Yeah.
Oh, you live here, But creatively speaking, initially moving back here, as far as seeing public art and things like that, it didn't seem to be occurring as much. There were some events that highlighted cultural things as far as we're concerned with music and artwork. It just seemed like we were paused and like we were still existing in Technicolor or black and white, for those who know about that. But now there is so much more progress, and you can see that the conditions of things have changed a lot. There are people used to complain about the potholes in certain areas.
Yeah.
Well, have you drove down Northside Drive lately?
I have driven down.
And they're working on Capitol Street now, and what is that, Raymond Road? Those streets have been worked on, and they look great.
The one that really made my heart smile when I came back, because said this a million times. I think everybody knows it, but just to let you know, I live in Dallas, right? But the one street that made my heart smile was when I came home and I went down Mill Street. Like, and I saw how smooth Mill Street was. I was like, okay, all right, I'm good with the progress we're making. Because, you know, there's a lot of, people have a lot of comments and conversations and just negative things to say about Jackson in a lot of ways. But for me, it's a city I love. It's home for me. I spend not as much time here as I do back home in Dallas, but I spend a lot of time in Jackson because I love the city. I love the people. I think the food is better here than it is in Texas. Yeah, I mean, we got the best food. We never talk about it.
Haven't been able to compare that yet.
Yeah,
we'll
that's just my personal opinion. So, well, I guess kind of going on food a little bit, we placed some orders, but what are some restaurants in Jackson that you like? What are some of the places that you frequent?
Ooh, see, what had happened was, okay, so look.
Talk to me.
If you're adventurous enough, and if you're not following a diet plan or anything like that, one thing I like to do to treat myself is go and get those sandwiches from Red Apple Inn.
Red Apple Inn, the smokes. You're a smokes girl.
No. Someone brought me one the other day, and I was like, "What is this?" I ate it and held it before I knew it, but yeah, they're just like fond memories. I remember my dad going, and like twice a year he'll go, and I would be with him, and we'll pick some up and eat them, and they were really good. But that's my first thought. That's like as far as a diet I should be following. I shouldn't have that, but it's delicious. Anyway, as far as restaurants, let's see. That's a good question. I haven't ventured out a lot, but I like the generic, Olive Garden. I like. I'm trying to think. There's one other place that's located. Trying to think of it. Is it Mama Eats and Sweets? Over near Clinton Boulevard and Capitol Street. Okay. It's called it's Soul Food.
Soul Food place?
Yes.
I like my soul food.
Really good. So that was number 2. Number 3, E&L.
Oh, barbecue.
I get the wings with the sauce.
The sauce on the wings, of course, right?
So have you been there?
Yeah, yeah. I've been to E&L more times than I can imagine. You know.
Tie your hair up and go in because you're gonna smell like smoke.
You can. I like the whole experience. I can come out of there smelling like a pound of it. I'm okay with it. I wanna go back to, we talked, the word you used that I like was inspiration. You talked about what inspires you and how you find inspiration. But another question that came to mind that I forgot to ask was, who inspires you? What are there other artists out there, not specific to Mississippi, in general? Who inspires you?
Well, one in particular, this Charlie Palmer. I met Charlie Palmer when I was attending the Atlanta College of Art. I actually did an intern with him and his wife, Dorothea, and she was also an illustrator. And what I saw there was they had this cool studio set up, and as a young artist, I was inspired by the way they worked. They did these graphics projects, these really, really nice graphic projects for Coca-Cola. And then right in their space was an easel and paint. And I was like, oh wow, they're doing both, and to see them working as a team and creating and taking on these huge projects, like basically effortless. But from there, just to see Charlie's work now, he's done covers for Time magazine. He just recently did an album cover, and just to see his progression and the way he worked is very inspiring to me. He also, I've been told he paints really fast, and he has to, because it's like he'll put so much out at one time, and I'm really inspired by him.
What's considered fast? Like, cause you tell me you do some of your paintings in these live sessions in 1 to 2 hours. Like, to somebody that's never painted before, that sounds really fast. Is that really fast?
That's fast.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Those 2 pieces were probably that was a live set, and that one with the Power and Peace was a live set. So they was started and finished on the live set.
Okay.
So once I sign after a live, that means I'm not touching it again.
You're not touching it.
But now there are pieces that I take from my lives and do more work
like
on
touch them up and stuff. Do you, so at the end of these live sets, are these pieces something you like sell, or do you just hold on to them as like a keepsake? Do you give them to the restaurant or the person who hired you for the event? Like, what do you do with the art once you get done?
Oh, well, depending on why I'm painting live, sometimes with the event that I told you about, I go and paint live as entertainment. It's the same as you'll bring a band in.
Sure.
I set up and paint, people watch me, listen to the live band, things like that. Everything's for sale. I've sold pieces that weren't even dry yet, that left, that I sold. Now, if I'm invited to, let's say, someone's private event, like a birthday party or something, I'm paid by the hour.
I got you.
And there's an option to buy. Now, it's in the customer's best interest to purchase them after I finish the live painting. Once it leaves,
I was just gonna ask you, why is that?
It's the pricing's better.
Okay, fair enough.
Like if I go in and I do a 3 by 4 foot piece or a 2 by 4 foot piece live, you'll only have to pay me $250 for it. But once it leaves, it becomes another, it becomes a final piece.
Yeah.
And it falls into my other priced artwork.
I got you.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I get it. Get
like
your money.
Times
you
8,
know?
times 10.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What is what is one project or one quote unquote dream that you have, right? Like for me, I wanna write an article for National Geographic, or I want to do a photojournalism piece for maybe like Time magazine, few long-term goal stuff. But for you, what is that one goal, the one project you like, if I could pull that off, I would be happy?
I would love to have a piece in the Smithsonian's permanent collection.
A permanent collection?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Collection. Yes.
I didn't even know that was a thing, a permanent collection.
Most galleries have permanent collections. You walk in, there are pieces that the gallery has purchased from artists.
So is that how that
they're
works?
always there. Like in between shows of visiting artists, then they'll have pieces that are they can go and redisplay. So galleries do purchase work from artists as well. So
I didn't know that's how that worked.
Yeah, that would be like the creme de la creme.
You're like, if I'm in the
cream on top.
Smithsonian, I'm in good company.
Yeah.
I got you. So when we talk about, dreams and success and all of that type of stuff, success is very subjective, right? It's how you see success. Taylor sees success differently, right? But talking about you, Sabrina, how do you, quantify success? What internally or intrinsically makes you feel successful, or how do you think success is defined?
Wow. Hey, that has changed so much now. I would define success.
What was it? Tell me where your definition of it was, and tell me where it is today.
That fabricated success, like having your dream home and a really nice car and kids, and everybody's healthy, no one's sick, you have about 2 dogs, maybe a cat. The American dream.
A couple $1 million, I got you.
My idea of success is the number one part of success is being happy.
Can't put a price tag on that.
Being happy. I don't believe money can buy happiness. My relationship with money isn't what it needs to be, and I'll tell you why after I finish talking about what success is for me. Well, it's being happy and satisfied with the things that I have, and being able to take care of my responsibilities, make sure my children are fine and healthy, and doing those things for them and making sure they're fine. And of course as well, like not being homeless, and being able to drive a car that's you don't have to stop and put oil and water in.
Serviceable, having a serviceable
I'm
vehicle.
saying that because I've gone through things like that
Oh,
before.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And I'm not a real big, so just to your point, and just tell you my thing, I'm not a real big car guy. Like, I don't need a nice car. I got a Honda right now, and I plan on riding it till the wheels fall off of it. I mean, the wheels fall off.
I wouldn't mind having a new vehicle, but I want to pay for it in cash.
Right.
I want to pay for it front. I don't want all the interest and all that extra stuff because that's stressful.
Yeah.
Unless you know that you have it, you know. But also, as far as what I would consider success is if I'm not here tomorrow, how would people remember me? What would my children say, and others? What would people say? So that would be what I would consider success to be. And the other one.
And how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be at the end of the day? You know, what do you want people to say about you? You know, when that day inevitably comes.
I was asked that question recently, and I don't know if I just shocked everybody there. People were saying what they wanted, what they would consider themselves to be, or what they wanted to be, known as. And I said a philanthropist, and they were like, "What?" Now, in order to be one of those, you have to be there financially in order to give large amounts back to the community and organizations that you're interested in, right? Yeah. So I put that pretty high, like being able to be there for other artists who need the support, just kind of privately do it, not make it a public thing. Yeah. Be there to make sure those kids who are interested in being career artists, that they have the financial support behind them. I think that would be awesome.
That's good. Well, I guess to start bringing us home. I know you're like, man, how many more questions do you have for me? I can tend to be an inquisitive guy sometimes, but I guess one of the last things I want to ask you is something I always like to ask guests is what, and I guess for you I have two questions. The first one is for any young artists out there, or let's just say any aspiring artists, what advice would you give them to go after their dream or go after their quote unquote passion of painting, drawing, whatever line of artistry they may be in?
Well, what I would say, I have a couple of different responses for that. To that aspiring artist who's not sure if that's something they want to continue or are afraid to put their artwork out there for the world, I say always create, keep creating, don't worry about what anybody say. Don't look to social media for validation. It's not about how many likes you have. It's not about who's looking at it, who didn't look at it. It's how your art makes you feel and how it makes others feel. There's no one definite style for artwork. Everyone sees art differently, so wherever your passion is regarding creativity, be it sculpture, painting, poetry, music, you name it, stay with your passion and put that necessary time in it to develop it. Don't sacrifice those things. Invest in yourself by investing time into your craft. Keep moving, keep writing, keep shooting. Good. Talking about the camera.
I got you. yeah, you gotta specify, right?
Well, I would say just keep creating, and no idea is a bad idea. There are inventions and images that create conversations that solve problems. So it's good to keep creating.
Do you ever get to do a piece for you? Do you ever get to just paint for you?
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
Yes, I call it free painting. A lot of the pieces that you see are just, I know I have a couple of my family members will call and say, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Painting." "Oh, what are you working on?" "I'm just like doing this Obama piece."
That piece.
Well, who is that for? Nobody.
So you do get to find some time to just do what makes you happy.
Yeah, it was birthed off a conversation. It was like a challenge. Hey, paint that. You know, the Obama with his lip pulled down there.
Yes,
like, what if Obama, his final speech, he pulls his lip down and he's Wakandian? It was like, okay, since he has
I didn't even catch that.
Since he has African lineage
I
and
didn't
American
even
lineage,
catch
you know,
that.
that's what the shirt, the corporate blue shirt is about in the African
yeah.
attire. Yeah.
I missed that. I mean,
Yeah,
right over my
that
head.
piece is titled Obama Forever, like Wakanda Forever. But anyway, it's one of my popular
Throw up
pieces.
the eggs.
And it was born out of an idea that came up in a conversation.
Yeah, that's dope. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. That's nice.
And I do have these ideas that pop in my head that burn. I have one now that a couple of people who have seen it so far, they're like angry at me because I was talking about my relationship to money.
And why would they be angry at you for that?
Money, I don't see money the same way other people see it. Well, I'm working on a piece that I started live at a show I had recently.
Okay.
And the name of the show was Hindsight is 2020. Okay. And I displayed pieces like these two and 8 other pieces that I created last year during the onset of the pandemic and working on up to the election and things like that. I had a lot of pieces that I created. They were at this show, right? So I also did a live piece that I started there. And I started the show off by asking people, talking about last year, what's happening there, coming into January, and that day and time that I was standing there, I said, now we're gonna focus on change. Yeah. So I started this piece, and then I came back and I asked the people in the audience who had change for a $100 bill. There was actually a gentleman in the audience. He had change for 100, so he gave me 5 20s, and I gave him a $100 bill, and I counted the 20s I had, and I was like, I'm still short. So I go back to start on my piece. Meantime, I put paint on my canvas. I'm just kind of letting it dry because now I have to do my next step. In my next step, I started to stick these 20s onto my canvas. And it wasn't just his 5 20s, it was like the other 20s that I had. I didn't use all of them while I was there.
Real 20s?
But real $20 bills, yes.
Okay.
So, and then after those were secured enough, I started to paint an image. In about, I'd say 15, 17 minutes, the image was there. It was an image of Harriet Tubman. And after I finished the piece, I asked everybody, I reminded them that I was focusing on change, and I asked them how.
I see what you did there, focusing on change. I got you.
I'm gonna tell you the name of the piece.
Okay.
But it's Harriet Tubman. Her background are $20 bills, and they're radiating. I'll be adding a total of 46 20s onto this canvas. There's only 20 on there now because I'm collecting 20s like people collect change. Yeah. When I get home and I have 3 20s or 2 20s or something, I put them in this jar. And 46 are going onto this canvas, and there's a really nice mint hue painting of Harriet Tubman sitting there. And the piece is titled Change for 20.
Change for 20. I see that. You got a little.
So you can do your math.
Yeah.
It's 46 $20 bills.
I was over here doing the math because I was like, man, I think I may want to buy that. Then I started thinking about all them 20s.
But I let people tell me what the 46 represents. But the $20 bills, it also represents a separation from money and what your art and creativity is worth to you. So you can ask me, well, what's this piece worth? Well, of course it's 46 20s on there, right?
Yeah, so you know where to start. You know the starting price.
But change is priceless.
I got you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Before I do so, though, just tell us where we can find you. Where would you like the people that are watching this interview to come look for your art, or to look to just keep up with Sabrina?
Of course, there's I can be found on social media at Sabrina Howard Art, as well as Facebook. Facebook is just Sabrina Howard, and my website sabrinahoward.com.
Okay. Well, one last thing, we have a token of appreciation from the Dirty Napkins team. It's a t-shirt that we want you to have. It's our way of saying thank you for taking the time to sit down with us and giving us an hour or so of your life to really interview you and kind of get in your business a little bit about your future and stuff like that. So
nice. It's gonna be dirty for real.
That's cool. You send us a picture when you do that. You send us a picture when you do that. But
I think I was. I have to keep this.
okay, all right, yeah, keep that one clean then. Well, hey, that's all I have for you. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. It was a pleasure talking with you, and yeah, it was a good conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for the meal.
No problem. All right, until next time. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Sabrina Howard here at Mind, Body, and Soul Food. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Dirty Napkins. Until next time, it's your host, Taylor.